What's up guys, once again it's time for another free-to-play review of the upcoming 5-star character. This time around it's about Mavuika the Pyro Archon and Citlali the Granny. By the way, just for your information, both Mavuika and Citlali are out in the same banner, so you'll only have 21 days to decide which one to pull. But fear not, that's what I'm here for, to share you my thoughts for these characters for free to play. Well then, without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, here we go. Let's start with our most anticipated character in Natlan, the Pyro Archon Mavuika. Well, usually Archons are always top of the meta on their first release, so you can't really go wrong saving up for them. But this time around, if I were to speak frankly, I think she might be the very first Archon who could be an easy skip, depending on whether you have pulled other Natlan characters or not, especially Citlali. Without any of them, congratulations! C0 Mavuika is basically unplayable for you. Yes, I'm not joking. As for how, let us go through her kit first. Long story short, Mavuika is yet another Pyro DPS, in which for some reason, she has almost identical skill set as Raiden Shogun. Same skill, same burst, same playstyle. Honestly, that's just boring and underwhelming. At the same time, I'm a little bit disappointed with the fact she's a DPS, rather than a strong Pyro sub-DPS or support like everyone asks for. I really don't understand what they are thinking, because for some reason, they are so afraid of creating off-field Pyro units to the point that every single limited 5-star Pyro characters in this game are on-field damage dealer. And now, Mavuika is gonna be the 6th. Come on, isn't that enough already? Well, I guess we'll have to stick with Bennett and Xiaoling for the rest of our life. But anyway, to be fair, she does have some supportability than goodness, providing up to 80% damage bonus with Scroll of Hero, plus a decent off-field AoE Pyro application. Not bad, right? Honestly, I'll be okay with it, the story ends here, but things are not that simple. What I truly despise is the way of how her burst works, because instead of using normal energy system, they decided to make her burst only rechargeable by Natlan characters in the team, with this so-called fighting spirit as her energy, with the only purpose of forcing you to pull her teammates. A very disgusting and dirty move. Not only this new mechanic completely nullifies all energy recharge substats, but also she can't even recharge herself, as her own elemental skill only provides 80 fighting spirit with 15 seconds cooldown, whereas she needs at least 100 to activate her burst. Besides, even if you somehow manage to reach the minimum requirement, she takes a huge hit to both her damage and her supportability, making her worse than Archon as a DPS, while being just on par with Pyro Traveler as a support for non-Natlan DPS. What a great design for an Archon, truly! Now can't you see why Citlali is game changing for her? She's the only battery at the moment who can instantly recharge 90 fighting spirit for Mavuika with a very short cooldown of 6 seconds. Combined with all her other support abilities, there's just no one who can replace her whatsoever, especially in overall exploration where she allows Mavuika to spam her burst at any time. As contrast, Kachina, the so-called free-to-play Citlali, only provides 60 fighting spirit with 20 seconds cooldown, which I doubt you'll have a good time with her at all. By the way, even if you do have Citlali, let's not forget she's a great support for others as well, so Mavuika will be steering her away from those DPS, including the almighty Neuvillette. So, can Mavuika beat Neuvillette to rob him of Citlali? I'll leave the answer to yourselves. Anyway, this is basically Hoyoverse pointing middle fingers at those who skip Natlan banners for Archons, forcing you to pay for her own constellation or characters you don't like, just to make her playable. On top of that, it doesn't seem like she's future-proof as well, since we're only 5 versions away from the Cryo country, where all the new characters won't have Night Soul anymore to work with Mavuika. That's the situation of our Pyro Archon, so honestly if you didn't pull any Natlan characters before, you might as well just skip her, unless you are very determined to pull Citlali in her rerun. Or you're confident enough to afford Citlali right now together with Mavuika, which is definitely not cheap for free to play. Only then she'll finally start looking like an Archon. Otherwise, with just C0 Mavuika alone, she's honestly pretty bad in my opinion. Meta-wise, of course. Now this granny of ours is kinda interesting. Despite being a cryo unit, Citlali is actually a dedicated support for Pyro and Hydro. And somehow, without buffing cryo, sometimes I really wonder just how much depth had cryo units. Not only they have the longest run of eternity, but also they are intentionally avoiding every possible buffs for them. Poor cryo, I guess. Well anyway, when supporting Pyro and Hydro units, Citlali is actually comparable to Silonin in terms of buffs, trading 16% resistance shred for off-field AoE cryo application, making her the strongest cryo reaction enabler in the game. That's the core of her supportability. On top of that, let's not forget she's a catalyst user, in which she has access to so many strong free-to-play supportive weapons, such as Prototype Favonius Sacrificial, and especially TTDS, which provides 48% attack buff. That's how Citlali beats Silonin for Pyro and Hydro units, which she should definitely be considering she's not as universal as Silonin. However, once you start looking for a team for her, you'll see that almost no one needs her cryo application, which makes her worse than Silonin in most cases. For example, when paired with Hydro DPS, Freeze is entirely useless since most enemies nowadays are immune to it, so the main function of her provides no value whatsoever. On top of that, most of them scales on HP, so the TTDS buff doesn't work either. So at the end of the day, Silonin and Johnny is still superior for Hydro DPS. Now as for Pyro DPS, Citlali's cryo application is just not enough for them to consistently trigger Pyro melt, so these teams are basically mono Pyro team with occasional melt. The only exception being our Mavuika and Garmin, as Mavuika's damage is massively packed into her nuke, while Garmin plays exactly like a Pyro Malani with extremely low attack frequency. So basically aside from these two, I think Vaporize is still better for all other Pyro players, since most Hydro supports are way better than Citlali. By the way, if you're thinking about bringing both Hydro and Cryo together with something like a full tower Vaporize melt team, I highly advise against it for just one reason. Like I say, most enemies are not freezable, so against such enemies, Hydro and Cryo will just cancel each other out, leaving nothing at all for Pyro DPS to vaporize and melt. What a great design for freeze reaction. Anyway, that's why Silonin or even Zhongli fits better in this kind of teams. At last, Chaska is probably the last DPS who welcomes Citlali, but only because she has no other choice as she can't bring Silonin, though I have to say her shield will definitely come in handy, protecting her from the occasional attacks that might reach her height. So basically at the end of the day, unless you are going to main Mavuika, Garmin or Chaska, I see no reason to pull Citlali at the moment if you already have Silonin. Finally, as conclusion, let's summarize what I've said in this video. Unlike all the previous Archons who can carry the whole team by themselves, C0 Mavuika is basically unplayable if you didn't pull any Natlan characters before, especially Silonin who completely changes how she plays. Besides, even if you do have Silonin, Mavuika will be stealing her away from other DPS, including Nivlet who is unarguably the strongest DPS in the game. So at the end of the day, it's all about Mavuika versus Nivlet. But anyway, if you truly wanna enjoy Mavuika, you need to have either Silonin, Citlali or her own C1. With just C0 Mavuika alone, honestly it's not worth it. As for Citlali, while she's not a bad support by herself, there are other many teams that requires her off-field cryo application, making her simply worse than Silonin and Zhongli. At this moment, only 3 characters can benefit from her, namely Mavuika, Garmin and Chaska. So unless you are gonna main this DPS, there's not much value you could get from C0 Citlali, so it's better to save your Primogens for other units. Alright, that's basically all for this video. Thanks for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one.